Okay, greetings and welcome. It is Juneteenth. Well, so that's the June 19th of 2025. And I'm your host, Blake Wally. Welcome to the Eccentric Perspective. Got a huge show lined up, which is why I'm running late and I have so many tabs open. Everything's just going to get jumbled together. We'll just sort it all out after it's done. I don't know. It's going to take another 20 minutes to figure out all the tabs and how it all plays in. But it's all good. A lot of interesting things to talk about as far as MAGA and the splitting, the two factions warring with each other as we fight over war with Iran. So who passes the MAGA purity test, which is the title of the show today? There is the thumbnail. And we had the explosive historical interview last night with Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz going toe-to-toe. That was actually really well done. I am about 75% of the way through it. I haven't completely finished it, but I do have some highlights, so we can cover that. It's an interesting showdown that we do have. And yeah, we'll check in on that, and we'll see how things are going to play out going forward, and how will it sway Trump, and who's pulling the strings there on his influence. So, or is he just he's running his own things his own way, and we should trust him and what he does. But he does get advice from certain people. So, but again, that plays into the purity test. So there's a lot of people going after each other on how that should be done and who the real MAGA is. So yeah, I had to wear my MAGA shirt. Why the hell not? So, interesting day. Let's take a look at the headlines. Here we go. So, Israel. They've caused a split of MAGA into two factions. Have MAGA voters overwhelmingly, do they support Iranian airstrikes? And should we save all the screenshots of MAGA influencers so we can come back and shame them later? How about soldiers ordered into Iran? If they do get ordered into Iran, should they just quit, even if it's dishonorably? And if you don't support Israel, then you love Iran and hate Jews. Is that true? And should we attack Iran if they attempt to kill Trump? As in, if they had ordered assassinations, we'll get into that. That's going to be a key part of the Ted Cruz, Tucker Carlson debate. Now, if they had actually ordered assassinations, should we go into war? And people should support Israel because the Bible says so. That's also a very interesting highlight from that interview. And finally, American foreign policy has been mostly disastrous. I'll say finally because I have no idea. The tabs are, I tried to get them in order, but it was just not happening. Gave myself an extra 10 minutes. Just forget about it. We're just going to run with what we have. It'll all tie together somehow, some way, and I'll try to keep it. It'll definitely keep it under 90 minutes, hopefully 60 for the gold. But we shall see. We can also incorporate your thoughts, your opinions, your breaking news. If you have anything you would like to share with the rest of the class, or call me out as being fake MAGA, that's all good too. Bring it. So we'll see. Throw some fuel on the fire. Hello, Deb. Yes, those ladies, Tucker Cruz, really went at it. That was good, man. It was a healthy discourse. Need a lot more of that because you don't see anything like that in the regular mainstream media. It's just kind of been nice for Tucker to get out of that system, because otherwise he's just going to be a corporately controlled gatekeeper, which is what a lot of these people would like him to continue to be, but it's already too late. He decided to go with his integrity and real journalism, and he paid the price. And yes, Deb, it was really awesome stuff, and we'll get into that. Again, in no particular order. So, where to begin? Oh, we'll begin with my intro. I'm gonna wet my whistle, and then we'll get into it. Okay. Yeah, Tucker did well. Enjoy Tucker's journalism. Everybody should like that. Even if the left, they got to be torn on this as well. Because unlike the left that just marches in lockstep and just sits there and agrees with each other, there's actually some contention. And then who do they after calling him a Russian spy? Now the true MAGA or whoever, is it the woke right? I don't know. The warmongering, the never Trump neocons who are now trying to hijack the MAGA movement, depending on your perspective. I already forgot my train of thought. It's just how it's going to go. All right. Well, let me gather my thoughts. Let me try to recenter, play an intro. We'll be back on the other side of this very quick break. No ads. Just a weird intro so you can, first timers can, I don't know, see what you're in for, I suppose. Where is it? Here we go. There it is. Welcome to the Eccentric Perspective, the Thursday, Juneteenth, the new federal holiday. Hopefully everyone's enjoying your day. And so far we haven't had a major escalation with the potential war, although there are some big developments and a lot of things could happen. It could also be fear-mongering. I have no idea. I know Iran was just saying there's going to be a day people are going to remember for centuries. And then nothing happened. But also hearing that Trump could escalate things as early as today. I guess depending on how things play out. Thank you, Deb. Yeah, I've got to rework the intro, but I thought that was a little fun introduction for first timers or people who haven't seen me. A little collection of some of my pictures and a little insight into what I do, I guess. Gonzo journalism from an eccentric perspective. One of the more unique voices in the independent media. So, where to begin? Should we go with the infighting? Here we go. Just in no particular order. We'll get to it all and sort it all out later. Here we go. Here's a tweet here from Sean Farash, who's does his Trump impersonations, is a MAGA influencer, and is on one side of this, trying to be a voice of reason. And I do normally like his tweet. I don't agree with everything, but certainly good for the most part. But he's saying the silver lining of the Middle East conflict is that MAGA is going through a healthy detox, because a lot of the people who appeared to be on our side have pulled the mask off and exposed themselves. They're not on our side anymore. The Candaces of the world wanted to hijack MAGA like cancer hijacks the body. So it's healthy for us to acknowledge this and react accordingly. Well, I think, it is healthy to have these debates, perhaps a little bit of a purity test. Although there are a lot of people who are, fake and they're grifters in this movement. I'm not saying Sean is one of them. I do like Candace a lot. She has also said a lot of crazy things that I'm not 100% sure if I'm on board with either. And yeah, I do like the fact that she's bold and feisty. There's also a lot of people on the other side of the MAGA movement who I think are absolute, like, cartoonish cult followers. And some, I like some of their content, but they can be a little bit over the top. And a lot of them, yeah, they're trying to decide who's legit and who's not. But a lot of people on that side came from the neocon camp, formerly, never Trumpers. But as long as he's on the pro, go and attack Iran for Israel, as long as he's got Israel's back, they'll go along with it. As long as they can control him and persuade him in that direction. So it really comes down to that. So that is part of the headline. This is really all on this Middle East war. And what is he going to do? Who controls who? Who's in charge of the world right now? Is it Trump in America, or is it actually Bibi in Israel? It's very interesting. And are we being dragged into a war we don't need to? I don't know. Or should we get involved? And this has been a long time coming, because I'm totally open for that too. If we need to get into war with Iran for the right reasons. But I mean, I think this has got to be something that's a worldwide effort. It's not just, it's Israel, and then America's going to come in with the muscle, and we're going to finish the job. This has got to be everybody. And if Saudi Arabia apparently does not like Iran either, and they don't want them getting a nuclear weapon. I don't think anybody feels comfortable with this wacky, fanatical, what would you call it? This is a religious theocracy. It's crazy. It's backwards. It's outdated. Nobody wants them to get a nuclear weapon, but it's a matter of were they really on the verge? After 40 years of hearing this, were they really on the verge of a nuclear weapon? And if Saudi Arabia and everybody else in the world, and if even Russia and China, if we can all team up, the whole world can just sort of, I don't know, shun Iran, would that actually finally do something? Could we get a regime change the right way? Could they hold a good election? Or maybe they can split Iran into different regions that can run themselves, and there's going to be one group of fundamentalists, and they can go create their own little utopia. And there could be other parts of the country that can be, welcomed by the Western world again. It should be an interesting experiment if that's possible to pull off. But if it's just up to Israel and America, then I don't think this is going to go that well. There's a lot of potential to backfire. Okay. And Trump saying, yes, 2 weeks for negotiation before engaging in conflict. Yes, that is part of the breaking news today. In fact, could jump to some of that. I know that was breaking out of the Epic Times not too long ago. Trump is going to decide on U.S. action in Iran within 2 weeks. So this is good. Because earlier I was hearing that maybe it wasn't going to go so well. Well, it's on InfoWars as the insider. We'll get to that. There's multiple perspectives on this thing, so we're going to show all of that and try to be intellectually honest. Then I'll let you guys can decide. I have my own biases, but they'll change. I don't care. I'm not here to confirm what I want to believe. I'm going to go with wherever the facts and truth take me. I don't care. I don't have that sort of cognitive bias the way some of these guys do. And unlike some of these influencers, you don't know who's who and who's taking money to persuade or change people's opinions one way or another. That has not been something I've had to deal with before. Okay, well, let's go on here. Let's jump into that InfoWars thing. Speaking of that, here's the other side. So there's the rational, hey, let's think about this for a couple of weeks before we decide what we're going to do. Now, the only problem with that is BB's doesn't have that same kind of patience. So it's like Trump can be, hey, I'm a reasonable guy. Let's make a deal. Let's wait a couple weeks. But if something doesn't happen on, day 15, then BB's going to be, dropping bombs somewhere, escalating it, and then we're supposed to like have his back, or you're a bad person. You're anti-Semitic. You want to see. Israel nuked off the face of the earth. Nobody wants any of that stuff. Nobody wants the nuclear warfare. Want to see cooler heads. But let's check out the other side, the nightmare red alerts, because Alex is part of this as well. He's being criticized in the MAGA purity test, being called out by so many. If you're a blind loyalist to Trump and he's got things under control, or you're with the crazy isolationists, perhaps. Yeah, Trump is holding back for U.S. involvement. Yeah, he's going to, unless we get attacked. And then if we do get attacked, that's the big concern is we got this like old aircraft war carrier. It's like almost 50 years old, I think. They're about to be decommissioned. It's everybody's looking. It's the false flag. We'll roll out the old boat that we're gonna retire next year, but instead we're gonna ship it out to towards Israel. I don't know if it's gonna go into the Strait of Hormuz. I have no idea where it's going to be stationed, but it seems like one of those that's ripe for that attack. And it's like, oh my God, Iran just launched an offensive, or it'll be the Houthis. Who knows? They're going to take down this old ship. And then, oh, great. They're going to get the public to sway their opinion, and we're going to have to go to war because they took down our 50-year-old ship. And of course, there's all these bases around Iran. Those servicemen could be in the crosshairs. So that could be tough as well. Okay, Deb's on the fence. Hopefully we won't get attacked. Kiss my ass. Like, okay, thank you. Thank you so much for your feedback. So what should we do? Or where was I wrong? Or what is that in reference to? I need more context on that. But let's move on. Where is... Let's run the video here. I've actually only run about a minute of it, so I haven't seen the rest. But let's look at the red alert from Alex Jones. Here is the potential fear mongering. But this makes the news fun. Let's take a look.
In fact, several of my former agency friends think we may have crossed the point of no return. All the years I was at the agency, one of the most valuable lessons that I learned was if you really want to understand what the policymakers are thinking, watch naval movements, the movement of naval assets. If the politicians are just yelping, you can pretty much discount that. But if they're moving ships, that's the signal that something bad could happen. Well, just yesterday, the president decided to send 2 aircraft carrier battle groups. Those are 12 ships each to the Gulf. That shows that we are preparing for something terrible, and that scares the daylights out of me.
You do, in the history, watch naval movements. You also watch the propaganda. And as soon as Netanyahu came out 48 hours ago and said, I'm not negotiating, Trump's posture completely changed to basically not negotiating.
And speaking of negotiating, I want to get into a excellent article I read earlier about this from the alt market here. Brandon Smith. He's a great writer. He puts out a big piece about once a week. Speaking of all of this and the negotiations, saying Trump has always been the wild card, and he is to some extent. Now, this is an article that just came out today. It's called The Iran Trap, and everyone wants Americans to fight their wars for them. Yeah, that's the easiest way. Certainly easy for Israel to go start a fight and then just turn to America to go do something about it, to get their back. So now his comments for Trump is that on the nuclear negotiations suggest he is continuing to push for peace. But Israel put the kibosh on any diplomatic plan when they just assassinated multiple Iranian military leaders. So they took out, very strategically, I'll give them that, Mohammed Maghari Hossein Salami Ghalami, I'm going to be butchering all these names. Ghulam Ali Rashid, Amir Ali Hazideh Zadeh, and then Faridun Abbasi. So there's no going back after the direct targeting of so many high-ranking officials, and that may have been Israel's intention. So apparently, like these were their negotiators. So you want to talk about peace, and they were scheduled to have peace talks, but then Israel just went ahead and took out all of the people who were going to be talking about peace. So as far as I'm concerned, Bibi and Israel just undermined the peace negotiations there by doing that. That could be a war crime. I don't know. But again, I'm open-minded to this, but we still haven't seen any proof of that, Iran was actually imminently on the verge of having nuclear weapons, and they were going to somehow immediately fire those nuclear weapons at Israel, just, blindsided in the middle of the night. And now, but just trust them. And the other thing is, Bibi Netanyahu has something like a 30% approval. A lot of the people there hate him. They're calling for his ouster. They want him to step down from power. And now he's more powerful than ever. And you could debate he's the most powerful man in the world. Many people think, yes, it's Bibi pulling strings on Trump and not the other way around. But personally, I think that Bibi acted, around Trump. That Trump wanted a peace negotiation, Trump wanted to make a deal, and that Israel and Bibi went behind his back and decided to preemptively strike Iran, and they intend to pull Trump into it to finish the job. I could be wrong. I don't care. It's not about, being right or patting myself on the back as I got the prediction right. It just, it's throwing out all these possibilities, strategizing, philosophizing, trying to find some solutions out of this by just bringing this out. This should be something that everybody has a conversation about before we get dragged into something based on lies. And we've seen this happen before with the WMDs in Iraq. And that was Bibi's war too. Not that the neocon warmongers didn't want that one, but that was also, in large part. Also keep in mind, basically our only benefit for the Israel-America alliance here, and you'll see this from Ted Cruz when he was talking to Tucker Carlson, is that our biggest benefit from Israel is their intelligence. So, or at least what they want to share with us. Meanwhile, they're spying on us. There's lots of issues with our greatest ally, and that's one of them. We'll be covering many of those things today. All right. So, that was it. I think that's all I really wanted to mention out of there. So, it's getting sidetracked, but that is a key issue here, is you can't have peace negotiations if you just murdered all of the people that were going to be a part of those peace negotiations. So let's get back to the video.
Now it's gone to total surrender statements today and telling people to evacuate last night out of Tehran. And then I was watching Fox yesterday, just sampling it. They were like, let's be honest. in transparency, we're going to war. It's regime change, and they were smiling, and I was just, wow. And I think you're right. In fact, let's just say it. Barring a miracle, the United States starts a bombardment in the next week, I think for sure. And it's going to be massive. And then I think at that point, the Iranians are going to retaliate. Even if they don't, I think we're going to see a false flag. You got Netanyahu licking his lips, saying, oh, the Iranians want to kill Trump. The deep state's been pre-programming that. They could kill Trump and then say it's Iran. I mean, we are entering maximum danger.
Yeah, that's an interesting headline there, too. Pakistan to nuke Israel. We can complain all day about Iran not, having a nuclear weapon, but so does Pakistan. So does a lot of these other countries, China, whatever. So, but Iran is the worst thing imaginable. I mean, nobody wants it, but show us the proof at least before we go and deciding to attack another country and get embroiled in this thing. Let's make sure we don't fall for the same trick that we got fooled. What is it? The shame on? No matter butcher it. Just like George W. Bush. Fool me once. The shame on me. No. Okay. Right. We're gonna mess that up again. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Okay. So are we going to let Bibi talk us in to World War III based on the same lies and 40 years of telling us that Iran was on the verge of having a nuclear weapon? I would say pause. But again, I don't know. We pause, and then he's going to go and attack. So he's a tough character to play with. And like I said, when he's down 30%, so he's got a 30% approval rating. So 70% of his country doesn't like the guy. The ICC wants to put him in the Hague, try him for war crimes. And now he's out preemptively striking Iran and trying to drag us into war. And we're supposed to just go along with it. I don't like that. Anyway, yes, Deb and Alex Jones does fearmonger. Knows how to get those ratings in there. Generate some enthusiasm. People should be allowed to vote on war. I agree. It's going to be up to Congress. But, people don't support these wars in the past. So they didn't want to get into World War I or World War II. It took the Lusitania. It took Pearl Harbor. It took 9/11. But that's the worry, is that they're going to... If people don't want to support it, then they're going to create some false flag. They're going to create a public outrage. And then they are going to support it. So I would like to see more public debates and more proof before we do anything. Exactly, Deb. It's the same playbook over and over. All right, let's continue on the clip. I don't want to spend too much time because we want to get to the Tucker and Ted
zone at just a gut level. John Kiriakou has been former high-level CIA counterterrorism head in Afghanistan. He talked to his sources in the agency. He said, no, you heard him last hour. The word is it's already done. The U.S. is going to war with Iran. That was 20 minutes ago he said that.
Wow.
We need to get that interview out with that clip up front. Because if there's enough of an alarm raised about this, enough pressure by Trump's constituents to dial this back, we can stop what most experts agree will at least go into a full world war, probably nuclear. And I just went over a lot of the background on that last hour.
Okay. So this is the dividing line with MAGA. First, so it's those who blindly go along, well, with whatever Trump does, no matter what. And then there's the other side that wants to stand more with principle. It's the ideals, and it's about electing Trump based on the idea that he was not going to get us into any foreign conflicts. And I think this is a great point by Alex. Have the issue, or talk about it. We shouldn't be afraid. We shouldn't be like, oh, just trust Trump to do whatever he wants to do. He's got this all to himself. He's got it figured out. He's 5D chess. He's always 20 steps ahead. We should never question him. And if anybody does, you're not real MAGA. Well, I would disagree with that. We saw that the first Trump term, Trump did great, but he can get surrounded by a bunch of, with neocons, bad people around him who are going to influence him in the bad ways. And if he can see something from Alex, some of these other voices within MAGA criticizing these decisions, it allows him to think and allows him to see the other side. So it's healthy to have this discourse. So anybody saying that, you shouldn't be able to put out different opinions, or you shouldn't possibly criticize Trump. I don't know what Trump is doing, but I want him to make sure that he's got all of the information there, that he's seeing the full picture, as much of it as he can, before he makes any big decisions that could, hurt him as well. But, listening to some of these influencers, it's not the case at all. Let's look at this clown. He's one of the more outspoken ones. Brendan Dilley wants to give a big shout out to all the dickhead influencers who have spent the last week showing your ass and then pivoted back towards Trump when you realized you overplayed your hand. I don't think MAGA is going to forget so easily this time, as if he's gets the arbiter. He's one of the three arbiters. It's Brendan Dilley and Vince Langman and Cat Turd, and you have to appease all three to pass the MAGA purity test. So I don't see how they've overplayed their hand. I mean, there's a few that have gone off the rails. Maybe you can make that case for Candace, or maybe even Dave Smith. I like Dave Smith a lot. He was saying, "Oh, we got to impeach Trump now." Maybe that's a little too far. We pull back a little bit, but hey, it's all of us, and we're all going to have our emotional, impulsive moments. Not going to be at our best, but are we going to run this big test? Make sure that everybody was 100% loyal and obedient, and we're going to check all the receipts, and we're going to excommunicate you from any further MAGA activities going forward. It's crazy. Okay, well, let's continue. All right, here's another one. Here's Luke Rudowski saying, here's the teams. The war team and the anti-war team. The lines have been caused. Here's the generals. You got Laura Loomer, Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, Dave Rubin, Ted Cruz. The More War crowd against the Tucker Carlsons, the Alex Jones, Ron Paul, Matt Gaetz, MTG. No wars. Those are, it's interesting. The dividing lines of MAGA, the two separate factions that are now dividing. Let's see. A couple other quick points. I know Trump says Tucker Carlson called him to apologize as Iran policy clash divides MAGA base, because Tucker was trying to tell him one thing, giving his 2 cents on this. And then there was Trump got mad, and then Trump embraced, oddly, Sean Hannity and Mark Levin, getting their influence on Iran, which is cause for concern. Who is he being advised by? Do they have the best interests of the country in Trump? Or are they have their own agenda? So that's one thing. We've got Steve Bannon also saying MAGA could support Trump's military action on Iran. Saying this should be Israel's fight. Really, their war, and we should stay out of it. But I mean, if there's something significant, perhaps if they can show proof that there were WMDs or show proof that they were actively engaged in assassination attempts, they could certainly make that case and get more people on their side. Interesting other note here, Pentagon official purged from the Joint Chiefs of Staff for posts calling Israel our worst ally. And he's got a point there. How has this benefited the United States, this relationship, this alliance with Israel? It just seems to be a constant point of contention. But you can't criticize it, or you're going to get in trouble. I mean, you can criticize it if you're on the left or whatever, but if you're in the military, if you're in the government, if you are a Republican, if you're on Fox News, you can never criticize Israel. It's a weird double standard there. So, and it's a shame. He should be allowed to give his opinion there without being punished for it. Okay, let's take a look at got a peacemaker Trump scolding the warmonger Trump. People, and they're not like falling out on Trump. They're not like people are hating Trump. But, we're just, he's our guy. And we don't want, another foreign conflict. So we're trying to, persuade our guy just to keep him in line. That's it. It's all good. But anyway,
you're right now not in a very good position.
You're
It's going to be a
gambling
very
with
hard
lives
thing to
of
do
millions of
business
people.
like this.
You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with
I think
World
it's
War
good for
III.
the American people to see what's going on.
interesting little AI video there. Well, it's actually not AI. That's based on the real one. As he told Zelensky. But yeah, maybe Trump should take his own advice there. But, I think, again, he's got to be very cautious when dealing with Netanyahu. He would rather, take down the country. Would rather kick off the war before he negotiated for peace. You're gambling with World War III anytime you deal with him. Here's another interesting video I found, because there could be a draft on this one. If this gets escalating, this is not going to be like Iraq or like Afghanistan. It's going to be much worse. You could see a draft, and then what? Then it's going to be the if you don't support our greatest ally, you're going to be anti-Semitic. So here we go.
But Mom, I don't want to go fight Iranians for Israel.
Joey, don't you dare be anti-Semitic!
I want to go home, sir! You some kind of anti-Semite, Joey!
I don't even know why we were there.
Let's focus on why that thought is anti-Semitic, Joey.
Get a job, loser. Israel needs our taxes.
But I'm not even dead.
That's anti-Semitic, son.
That's what it's going to be. You're going to support the war, or you're anti-Semitic. You just hate Jews and love Iran. Why do you love Hamas? It's weird propaganda. Okay, let's keep moving on. Interesting tweet here from Charlie Kirk saying the proponents for regime change have pivoted the last 24 hours. They know they are losing and their position is indefensible and unpopular. Keep the pressure on. So I know for all the criticism that guys like Charlie Kirk and Jack Posobiec take, you got to give them some credit on this one. Standing true on this one. You would think Charlie Kirk would be one of those 100% pro-Israel supporters, but he's noticing that there is a divide. The pro-MAGA, pro-America, pro-Trump, pro-Israel crowd, they don't want to get involved in the neocons. So it's good to see. And so they're really ramping up their efforts to try to target shame the other MAGA people. That's good, because they know they are losing. And Israel knows they are losing that propaganda war as well. Too many people are saying this is why they are ramping things up now, because they see that this is the end. They see the writing on the wall. They see that most of their support comes from the old boomers at Fox, not the people under 50. So when they lose that support, they're done. Or, you know, they can do what they want. I don't care. But they're not going to get American support like they were, like they have been for the last 70 years. So, okay, we'll keep going. Touch and go, more influencers. Here's another polarizing one. Insurrection Barbie, who's been very vocal on this, saying the psychological warfare and propaganda campaign related to Israel is about splitting the evangelical base, a voting bloc in America that is the largest and most reliable conservative one, most supportive of Israel. That's true. Splitting that voting bloc, and the Republicans will never win another election again. He says, who benefits from the most from trying to split the evangelical base on Israel? The Democrats. And yeah, it is a concern. So if MAGA becomes divided come the midterms, or 2028, whatever, that's going to be could play into the Democrats and breathe life into their radical agenda again, if that's what they're going to come out with. Because MAGA will be split. So I don't know, we're going to get 3 different political parties. But that would be, it's an interesting possibility that is happening. So if Trump gets involved in this war, kicks off the next Iraq, Afghanistan, the 10-year occupation boondoggle again, he's probably going to cost him. It's going to cost Republicans at the midterms and could change a lot going into 2028. So it's hard to say. You never know. 3 years is it's a long time from now. But let's see. Let's take another look at this insurrection Barbie. As I'm digging in, she's been like a prominent influencer. I don't pay her too much attention, but she's been one of the more outspoken people recently, as far as the MAGA purity test goes, and just extremely 100% Israel all the way, which is unusual. You're seeing people like the Hodge twins also being also very MAGA, but against the war. So there's been a lot of infighting on them. And Insurrection Barbie was saying, if I came out against Israel, I could make $10,000 a month to post how Israel is the cause of all our problems. Being anti-Israel is big money right now. Anyone telling you the opposite is a straight up liar. Everybody knows now that Israel is highly influential and has a lot of money. Not just AIPAC, it could be talking to some of these influencers to persuade their opinion on the Israel war. And so now they're just projecting, and they're saying that it's all like it's coming out of Qatar, and that they're the ones that are, using influencers to push propaganda that's anti-Israel. It's ridiculous. I mean, I'm sure there's some, but they're acting like it's pervasive, and it's not true. And it's totally projecting, taking the heat off of them, because they're most likely paid influencers. So that Insurrection Barbie has actually been exposed and doxxed and shown. She's her name is, this is real. Now this has all been backed up by Grok fact checks. That the person that runs the Insurrection Barbie account, I was trying to look her up because I haven't seen her doesn't do videos. I don't know if she does shows. I guess she does spaces, but I don't know if she talks or anything, or if she's just a shit talker on Twitter X. But I guess her real name is Irina Sedano or Pavchinska. She's pled guilty of felony theft, disbarred. I guess she was a lawyer, fraud and forgery, felony theft. But then all of a sudden in 2022, she started this Insurrection Barbie account on X where she peddles Israel propaganda nonstop. And in 2025, she's already got 1 million followers and has been reposted by Elon Musk multiple times. So this is all documented, and she admits it. So it's weird. Yeah, there's a lot of paid influencers on this platform. So you've got to be careful on who you're listening to. So that's weird because, yeah, Insurrection Barbie came out of nowhere. And all of a sudden she's getting just tons of views on all of these regular posts. You got to question, the AI, are they real people? But they're just as bad as some of these like leftist accounts. Now they're calling for the purity tests. It's wild. It's another one from Brendan Dilly saying, are you tired of the anti-Jew crowd? So do the Groypers get you down in their constant retardation? Follow my friend Laura Loomer. You will have hours of accounts to block replying to you. Yeah, it's weird. And it's a shame. I do like a lot of what Laura Loomer has done. She's a feisty investigative journalist. But it's weird when she starts talking about Israel. She is just such a crazy, unhinged Zionist with just no reason, does not care about that cause whatsoever. And now she's calling everybody else out on this as well as Dilly. So you're either on that side or you're not real MAGA. So they're just gonna block everybody. I don't know. It's crazy. All right, keep going. More stuff. This one I really want to see happen with Dave Smith calling out Ben Shapiro directly for the big debate on Israel. I guess he also had a big debate trying to line up with Dave Rubin, but Rubin backed out. Rubin he's clearly on the pro-Israel side as well, and it's an indefensible position at this point. Everyone's got the Israel fatigue. Everyone's seen what Israel has done with Gaza. So over 55,000 dead people already, mostly women and children, civilians that have been wiped out. Not a lot of sympathy going for Israel's way. Dave also cleaned up on Laura Loomer in a big debate. I think that was the first one put on by what is the name of that publication? Zero Hedge. That was a good one. He's done a terrific job, and he's cleaned up on Douglas Murray on Joe Rogan. Been an interesting boy. It'd be great to see him take on Ben Shapiro, but I don't think those guys want to do it. Dave Rubin certainly doesn't want to do it. Dave Rubin, that guy's got a ton of influence too. I have no idea why. I just don't get it. There's so many grifters in this movement, and I couldn't tell you. Well, there's not a lot of good guys, like real independent voices anymore. So, and it's a really a tough business to make money, to have a career at, unless you're taking influence money from some of these shady organizations. All right, let's go to another one. Just showing the crowd, the new phase of MAGA, whatever you want to call them. That if you're not on board with the war, you're bad. And then this is one of them saying, I went my entire life without being called anti-Semitic until this week because I said I don't want America to go to war. It's amazing. Yeah, that's it. You will be attacked by a lot of these people who used to be never Trump neocons. But as long as he's going to support the war on Israel, he's the greatest ally. And yeah, I'm just having some fun with with that by saying, why do you love Iran and hate Jews? But that's the way they try to twist these arguments. That's what's going down. Here's another one from Sean Farash saying, Candace Owens, do our troops get dishonorably discharged instead of following orders that they don't like? This is one I'll agree with. We'll give a win to that side there. And I do like Candace Owens, but this is not one part I would agree with her on. They shouldn't follow orders and get dishonorably discharged. That might be going a little too far. Although we'll see. If there's actually a call for boots on the ground, if they actually do a draft or something, yeah, I could probably see just, what people saying. No. And they should. I'm not saying you should leave the military, but I don't know. If you think you're going to get sent into a, no-win situation, that'd be different. It's a contentious issue. It's not easy. But yeah, you can criticize Candace for that. Point, Sean. Point for the Israel MAGA, the whatever the Make Israel Great Again crowd. Okay, how about some voice of reason from Health Ranger Mike Adams, saying, I fought for Trump for the last 9 years, although I didn't always agree with his decisions. He defended him through the multiple impeachment hoaxes, the Russian collusion hoax. Always stated that he won the 2020 election, which was rigged, risked everything, put on multiple lists by Democrats, was censored, deplatformed, smeared, blacklisted, demonetized, death threatened, and visited by the FBI over J6. But if Trump plunges us into a war in the Middle East and places America in the position of fighting Israel's insane illegal wars of aggression and colonization, I will walk away from Trump and never look back. My loyalty to Trump depends entirely on his loyalty to America. And if he walks away from America first, he will lose most of his base, including people like me. Right now, Trump stands on the precipice of political suicide, and Netanyahu keeps telling him to jump. So will he. And I agree very much with Mike Adams here. In fact, I've made also major sacrifices with my life to get involved with this election. 2016 specifically, against Hillary, it was like, we have to win. Like the patriots of this country have to win, get behind Trump, beat Hillary or Jeb Bush or whoever, and get on Donald Trump's side. He's our only chance at turning things around in this country. And I have been on that bandwagon for a long time. I got to go back and find my really old podcast where I was even saying I think Trump should run for president in 2016. And then I supported him and also went through the personal sacrifice, lost my career, my home, everything. It went through bankruptcy, all kinds of personal and financial hell to try to make a difference in, getting Trump and changing this country. So I don't need any of these new MAGA people, all of a sudden these influencers that came out of nowhere trying to tell me that, I've got to support this war, I'm not real MAGA. Whatever, dude. Some of these people, they have things so easy. It's so easy to be just a blind, cult follower, support Trump 100% of the time, no matter what, and go along with whatever Israel wants. That's so easy, and yet you can have a great career. And some of these people are highly successful just because of that. So they know how to play the game. They've used it to their advantage, and now they're using a purity test to go after the independent people, the people that have really, gone through the ringer, trying to do the right thing. So it's a more complex issue than just one side or the other. Okay, well, let's keep moving. I got a couple more articles here. Iran preparing to hit U.S. regional bases with missiles if Trump joins the war. That's obviously not a good thing. So we're trying to, again, I think Trump can back off. But will Bibi do something again to get us to do something? Let's take a look. There's another, I think it's the last InfoWars article I've got. Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon, others warning if the U.S. goes to war with Iran, it will destroy the American empire. I'm just going to play a quick clip of this.
The next 200 days are some of the most perilous times for the American Republic in its history. Because if we don't get this sorted, we're going to be drawn in totally into a conflict as a combatant, as not a supplier of logistics, or as an actual combatant, a participant in the situation in Ukraine, what they did in Russia, and the situation of what Israel is right now doing to the mullahs, as bad as they are and as evil as they are, right? We're going to get sucked into a shooting war of which it'll be 10 years and the casualties will dwarf anything you saw in World War II.
Like, all of that is now ignored because a leader of a country who does not have majority support in that country, probably 30% support, wants a course of action that includes the United States. And I just disagree. And anyway, I think it's going to happen. I don't, who cares what I think?
You think do you think we're joining the
Yes, I do.
offensive combat?
I do.
Well, we can't assume that we have to stop it.
I actually really love Trump. I think he's a deeply humane, kind person. And I am saying this because I'm really afraid that my country's going to be further weakened by this. I think we're going to see the end of American empire, obviously. Other nations would like to see that, and this is a perfect way to scuttle the USS America on the shoals of Iran. But it's also going to end, I believe, Trump's presidency and effectively end it.
But right now, I'm going to play you some clips from a Steve.
Okay, sorry about that. I had a knock at the door I had to attend to. Anyway, no big deal. But anywho, let's check in. So that's a good points. Again, exactly what I've been saying. Don't drag us into another war. Oh, you're not real MAGA. You're defying Trump. Maybe. And here's another clip here. I got a few other quick headlines to go over. We've got Iran launching their new missile groups at Israel for the first time in history. So these are going to continue, and I'm sure Israel's going to retaliate on that one. Or could this be the big one? I mean, start launching ballistic missiles and they're escalating things. It's probably not going to help the peace negotiations. And you've got Trump on the Israel-Iran war. Next week is going to be very big, maybe less than a week. So that could also spell trouble. But we shall see. And what else? Trump has reportedly approved an Iran attack plan, but is withholding the final order. So that is also good. Or we would call it good. Because they've already got the attack plans in place. And let's see. I mean, I would like to see some transparency. Maybe having those negotiations or something that maybe is on television, if that's possible. He's had some of those meetings in the White House, which have been great, in the Oval Office, especially with like Zelensky, because we got the bid for transparency. Now I don't know if that's logistically possible, but it would be nice, and to see some other people there as well, not just Iran, USA, Israel, perhaps if the Saudis. Or even Russia. They've talked about even Putin being as a potential involved in the peacemaker, but he's got his own issue right there with Ukraine. But could we get the rest of the people, some other major world leaders or negotiators or something to step in and make the right decision? See what are the options, and if Bibi doesn't, and I think as part of a good faith, I really would like to see Bibi step down from power as well. If there's going to be a regime change in Iran, then we should also do a regime change in Israel. Those people don't like Bibi either. We'll see if that happens and if that could be worked out. A peaceful solution to an impossible problem. Just get Khamenei to step down. Just make him a deal. Put him in exile somewhere or whatever in this Iran Revolutionary Guard. I don't think anyone's going to miss the current regime. whether this can be done logistically or not, I don't know. All right, let's get ourselves to the interview here. There's Clint Russell saying he's certainly guilty of hyperbole, but he just wants to say for the non-interventionist America First camp that what Tucker Carlson did to Ted Cruz is worthy of a Nobel Peace Prize, and he can't overstate how important this moment will be for the boomer cons. Says in under 2 hours, every BS myth that underpins the neocon worldview gets laid bare. A master class. And yeah, that's a pretty good summary of it. Depending on your perspective, there are some people that are saying, no, it's easily Ted Cruz. I don't know about that. And I like Ted Cruz. I with Tucker, very much so on a lot of things. On Ted Cruz especially, I've always liked Ted Cruz except for his foreign policy. And that's exactly what happened in this debate with Tucker. And they even said that much in the beginning when they were saying, yeah, they got a lot of mutual respect, but the one thing is the foreign policy they didn't see eye to eye on. Here's Matt Walsh saying he watched the whole Tucker interview, thought it was excellent and fascinating. People get so scandalized with two intelligent men having a heated debate. I think it's great and healthy and want to see more of it. I absolutely agree. We should all want this stuff. I think everybody wins on this. It's always exciting to have some contentious stuff and not have just two people, agreeing with each other and confirming their own biases and living in their bubbles. Sometimes you gotta pop it. All right, so let's get into. Like I said, there's lots of mutual respect. They agree fiercely on most stuff, and then there's kind of discussions about whether the difference between interventionism and being isolationist and trying to find a healthy middle versus those two extremes just in the real world, and admitting that Syria, Iraq, Libya were all bad as far as regime change. And now Bibi took out a Hezbollah leader. Actually, that's not going to get into the negotiator. All right, let's run a clip here so I don't confuse everybody, including myself. As I'm going to we'll play this clip here as things start getting more contentious into it. It's 2 hours long, but I would highly recommend it. Although I will play some of the key highlights here. So here's one. I came into Congress 13 years ago. This is an alarming thing. This is where Ted Cruz does not look good. He looked very much out of place. And hey, Deb, sorry I missed a few of your comments here. Yes, your support for Trump and the COVID. You've lost a lot of good people from my life. Yeah, good riddance. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah, this shouldn't have gone down this way. And it's too bad we can't have these conversations with people anymore. We just got way too divided and heated over the years. So I know exactly what you're going through. I have people in my family I don't even talk to anymore. It's too bad. Not that I care. But yeah, it got ugly those last several years. And I don't know if there's fixing that. Perhaps. We'll see. But this is going to be a painful lesson for all of us as we have to look back and reflect on what went wrong during these years, especially the 2015 to 2025, and who knows? I don't know where this is going to end. But this has been a very wild ride. Okay, but let's check out this clip. This is alarming to hear from Ted Cruz here.
So I've never taken money from the Israel lobby. Have you?
Taken money from the Israel?
From AIPAC.
So AIPAC raises a lot of money for me, but it's actually a misnomer because the people who raise money are individuals. Right. So it's not the PAC itself, but they're individual members who believe in the American-Israeli friendship and relationship.
Is AIPAC a foreign lobby?
No, it's an American lobby. It's the AIPAC stands for the America-Israeli Political Action Committee.
What does it lobby for?
So to be honest, not a whole lot effectively. Listen, I came into Congress 13 years ago with the stated intention of being the leading defender of Israel in the United States Senate.
Great.
Okay. That is an extremely alarming quote there from Ted Cruz, which Glenn Greenwald is highlighting. He came into Congress, and that was his whole game plan, his stated intention. He wanted to be, out of everybody in the House, Senate, whatever, going to Washington, Ted Cruz, and that was his stated goal. Being the leading defender of a foreign country in the United States Senate. And he works every day to do that. Why? I mean, yeah, that is a very good formula if you want to be successful in Washington. You get your 100% loyalty to Israel, you'll get money, you'll get power. And it's done wonders for his career. So, but that is something that Americans should be concerned about. Are you America great again? Are you America first? But you want to defend somebody else. Very strange. And he gets tons of money from the foreign lobby. In fact, let me real quick pull up a meme. Pundits are baffled. Look at these two guys, Ted Cruz and Thomas Massie. Ted Cruz has taken almost $2 million from AIPAC over the years. And Thomas Massie has taken zero. Notice the difference. One wants war, one doesn't. It's funny how that works. It's funny what the AIPAC influence. This is a great part of the Tucker interview. Was holding Ted's feet to the fire and getting some accountability on what kind of influence that buys. So let's get back.
I'm not terrified of AIPAC at all.
Of being the leading defender of Israel in the United States Senate.
Great.
And I've worked every day to do that. AIPAC, a lot of times, AIPAC, I wish were much more effective. Like, there are folks online who are in the fever swamp of terrified of AIPAC, and AIPAC...
I'm not terrified of AIPAC at all. You're the one who seems a little uncomfortable when I'm asking.
No, not uncomfortable at all.
I'm just asking what AIPAC does. My understanding, having known a lot of people who work at AIPAC, is that it lobbies on behalf of the Israeli government.
Wrong.
Oh, okay.
It's
when was the last time AIPAC took a position that deviated from Prime Minister Netanyahu?
All the time.
Name one.
Okay. Let me go back and give a little history. If you want to do a deep dive on AIPAC,
I don't. I want to do a shallow dive that gets.
No.
I want to get to the core question. AIPAC is lobbying for a foreign government, and I don't. It's not.
No.
It's lobbying for the United States.
It is lobbying for a strong U.S.-Israeli relationship.
Okay. So it's not has nothing to do with the foreign government.
It wants America and Israel to be closely allied.
Okay, but it's lobbying on behalf of the interests of another country.
So that's not true at all. And if
it's not true.
No.
How much contact do you think AIPAC leaders have with the government of Israel?
No idea. I imagine some. I think the government of Israel is often frustrated with AIPAC because AIPAC's not nearly strong enough.
Do you think there's any coordination between the government of Israel and AIPAC?
Do they talk? Sure. If you're lobbying for more U.S.-Mexico trade, would you talk to people in the U.S. and Mexico and the government? Sure. Like if...
So I'm not mad about that. There are a million countries that lobby Washington. I like a lot of those countries, including Israel.
But AIPAC are Americans. They're not Israelis.
Hold on. There are tons of Americans who lobby on behalf of foreign governments. I know them. I'm related to some of them. I know how it works. I'm from here. So my question is not, is it outrageous that foreign governments lobby the United States? They all do, okay, including Israel. My only question is, why don't we admit that is what's happening? You're denying it, but it's true.
Yeah,
and
why what you're saying is false.
Why aren't they registered as a foreign lobby?
Because they're not.
It's wild, but it's great to see him squirm like that, but he needs to be held accountable. People need to know that. You got to kind of throw Ted Cruz's foreign policy philosophy out the window when you see something like that. He's totally exposed. And you should wonder, and here's the other thing. It appears that Ted Cruz totally caught off guard the entire interview, constantly on his heels. I think he's used. I think the problem is that he's so used to just having this AIPAC guy think for him. He doesn't know what to actually say because he got caught off guard, especially like talking about Iran. What the population was, what the population was made up of. Do you have no basic facts about Iran? You want to get into a war, you want a regime change, but you don't seem to know anything about what's going on there. Because he doesn't need to. He's got his own people that do the thinking for him on those issues, but that's very dangerous. So he was exposed badly, as much as I'm a fan. But yeah, it is great to see Tucker tear him a new one on that. Yeah, Tucker really got him. Smart guy, a lot of great pushback, and he held firm. And Cruz isn't used to answering those questions, and so yes, did get exposed on that. Yeah, we're gonna get to the Bible one too. That one's also extremely alarming. All right, let's get to another one. Here's Ted Cruz feeling some discomfort from actually from the adversarial questions, and then turn to the personal attacks. So here we go.
I think that it's just interesting because what you're now describing in a very defensive way, I will say, is foreign influence over our politics.
No.
And you began, and it's so transparently obvious to everybody. I don't know why you would be embarrassed of it. You've said that you are sincerely for Israel. I believe you. I don't think you have some weird agenda. You seem to be sincere.
By the way, Tucker, it's a very weird thing. The obsession with Israel. When we're talking about foreign countries,
it's hardly an obsession.
You're not talking about Chinese. You're not talking about Japanese. You're not talking about the Brits. You're not talking about the French. The question: what about the Jews? What about the Jews?
Oh, I'm an anti-Semite now.
Senator, you're asking the questions, Tucker. You're asking, why are the Jews controlling our foreign policy?
Senator,
that's what you just asked.
Hardly saying that, and I have.
Did not say that, but this is where they're getting defensive on that. It's wild. Now you're asking. You can't dare ask those questions, or now you're anti-Semites, you're pro-Hamas, you're pro-Iran, or you're anti-Jewish. I mean, it's insane the way that they go to these talking points. But it wasn't working.
Exactly what you just said.
Well, actually, I can speak for myself and tell you what I am saying.
Good.
On behalf not simply of myself, but of my many Jewish friends who would have the same questions, which is to what extent, it's interesting you're trying to derail my questions by calling me an anti-Semite, which you are.
I did not.
Of course you are. And rather than be honorable enough to say it right to my face, you are in a sleazy feline way implying it or just asking questions about the Jews. I'm not asking questions about the Jews. There's nothing to do with Jews or Judaism. It has to do with the foreign government.
Isn't Israel controlling our foreign policy? That's not about the Jews.
You said, I'm asking you.
And by the way, you're the one that just called me, I think, a sleazy feline.
That was actually kind of funny. All right.
So let's be clear.
It's sleazy to imply that I'm an anti-Semite, which you just did.
No, I just said, why is that the only question you're asking? You answer it. Give me another reason. If you're not an anti-Semite, give me another reason why the obsession is Israel.
I am in no sense obsessed with Israel. We are on the brink of war with Iran. And so these are valid questions.
But you're not asking about Iran or the
If I can finish, you asked me why I'm obsessed with Israel.
Yep.
3 minutes after telling me that when you first ran for Congress, you elucidated one of your main goals, which is to defend Israel.
Yes.
And I'm the one who's obsessed with Israel. I don't see a lawmaker's job as defending the interests of a foreign government, period.
Oh, yeah, he just slayed him right there. Walked right into that. It's amazing. No, he needs to. I want a better explanation. He just was so proud to admit that he's going to be their big champion for Israel. Now he's accusing anybody who's calling him out as an anti-Semite. Got to change it up and project. That's interesting. So let's get to the Bible one, because this was also enlightening. Here's one from Ted Cruz defending the nation of Israel is in the Bible. Tucker asked for the citation. This is classic. David Icke was, he's pretty much calling out everybody these days. He says that Cruz said that the Bible written by who knows who knows when, and who knows what circumstances is dictating his support for Israel no matter what. And he even goes into the idea that the Bible could be manipulated, mistranslated, and written to impose a perceptual control system. We can get into all of that, but let's stick to the actual video itself, which is enlightening for its own reasons here without getting into the weeds too much. We'll get back to that. We'll tie it in. So here we go.
Okay. And the reason is twofold. Number one, as a Christian.
Hold on. Let me change the speed. Okay.
Growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed.
Okay, so this is where he bases his foundation for his support of Israel. And I did pose that question in the beginning. People should support Israel because the Bible says so. Well, according to Ted, this is why he does this. This is why he feels so driven to support and protect Israel, is because of his, the way he was learned the Bible. So here we go.
And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Of those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of it, says the nation of Israel. So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my... You pull out the phone and use the...
It's in Genesis. But so you're quoting a Bible phrase. You don't have context for it and you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology? I'm confused. What does that even mean?
Tucker.
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay. Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two...
Hold on.
Oh, this is... Yeah, he walks into another major trap right here. And Tucker absolutely gets him pretty good here. Yeah, I would agree there. Tucker is playing 5-level chess. Checkmate. Although, Ted Cruz just kind of did this to himself. And he's a very smart guy. But he was ill-prepared for because he hasn't had pushback on this in so long. He was totally out of his element. Yeah, Ted's interpretation of the Bible there is absolutely, it's screwed and it's flawed. And it was exposed last night with Tucker here, as he's going to continue to go into detail.
Hold on, you're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel. And what
does that mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
But hold on, define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding?
This is extremely important, because this is key here. If you're basing your whole support system, so basically we're supposed to be in favor of regime change in Iran, or striking Iran, joining Israel in their fight, because Ted Cruz here believes that that's what the Bible teaches. Although there is a very big difference between the biblical Israel of 2,000 years ago and the nation of Israel today and their government. And that is where all of his reasoning here is completely flawed. You have to throw that out the window. You can't support it based on the nation of Israel today. That was written way, way before any of this happened in the last 70 years. So we'll keep going.
This is a majority Christian country.
Define Israel. Do you not know what Israel is? That would be the country you've asked 49 questions about.
So that's what Genesis, that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
And so is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yeah, nations exist, and he's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation
They're the
God's
descendants of
referring
Abraham.
to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
And by the way, it's not run by Benjamin Netanyahu as a dictator. It's a democratic country that elected.
He's the prime minister,
right?
I think that's where Ted Cruz realizes he's totally, oh my God, I just got exposed. Like, yeah, there's no digging yourself out of that. So then he's got to pivot here and try to say, oh, well, Netanyahu's not a dictator. Well, nobody said Netanyahu is not a dictator or that he is a dictator. But it just shows the disconnect here. And that's why I don't understand a lot of the Christian support for Israel, because this is an artificial construction, this country. This has nothing to do with ancient Hebrews occupying that old land of Israel and God's chosen people. That's when the Bible was written. That's when all those texts came from. So to say that applies to the later nation of Israel almost 2,000 years later, run by a completely different government with radical foreign policy, it's not the same thing. So why would you pledge your allegiance to that?
Netanyahu is a dictator. It's a democratic country that elected.
He's the prime minister,
right?
What?
But just like, America is the country run by Donald Trump. No, actually, the American people elected Donald Trump. The same principle
This is
there.
silly. I'm talking about the political entity of modern Israel.
Yes, and that is
You believe
Israel.
That's what God was talking about
Yes.
in Genesis.
I do, but
that country's existed since when?
For thousands of years. Now, there was a time when it didn't exist.
There was a time when it didn't. Almost a 2,000-year gap. Like Jesus would want to have anything to do with the modern state of Israel? Yeah, good point there, Deb. Yeah, there's no way that Jesus would approve of anything that the modern state of Israel is doing right now. And in fact, I'd be very worried if Jesus did go back to Israel, because I think Bibi would have him arrested. So, yeah, very, very different circumstances. So, let's keep rolling. How much left? I don't have too much left on this.
Exists, and then it was recreated just over 70 years ago.
I'm saying, I think most people understand that line in Genesis to refer to the Jewish people, God's chosen people.
That's not what it says.
Okay, Israel, but you don't even know where in the Bible it is. So I don't know if we can...
I don't remember the scriptural citation. But, okay,
It's like Genesis 16 or something like that. But yes, it's in the earlier part of the book. But the point is...
All right, Tucker, you keep interrupting.
All right, well, we get the idea. The point is, his logic is flawed. His philosophy is completely out of whack. But that's good. Now we all know. But now we can correct this. Wes Huff. I'm not familiar with Wes Huff, but I would be curious on that. It is so much interesting information that is out of the Bible, but David Icke does make some points here as well, as that it has been manipulated, it has been mistranslated. There's a lot of parts of the Bible that were left out. Gnostic Gospels and so on, without getting way into the weeds. Not saying there's anything wrong with Christianity. Not saying there's anything wrong with Jesus or any of that stuff. But it should be open to some interpretation, and it should not be used to support Israel in their modern Israel in their current war efforts. So we'll keep moving along. There's a tweet from Matt Walsh saying the most interesting part of the Cruz-Tucker debate was the bit about Iran trying to kill the president. He says he agrees with Tucker's point. If Iran is actually trying to kill Donald Trump, then maybe he would support going to war with them and annihilating the whole regime. So it'll be very legitimate for us to respond with overwhelming force in defense of ourselves, our nation, and our president. So he says it's strange they tried to kill Trump is often mentioned more to an aside as the primary justification for intervention. If they tried to kill Trump, then why are we even talking about nukes? Why isn't that being presented as the primary reason to intervene? This was also mentioned in this Cruz-Tucker interview. Is that, we got to get rid of Iran because they're trying to assassinate Trump. And Tucker kept trying to pin him like, well, why haven't any arrests been made? Who tried to do it? And he was even saying that Netanyahu, he must have misspoke when he talked about those assassinations, or that people were trying to kill him. So it's very strange. Of actual scriptures and records that are thousands of years old. Yeah, there's so much of that stuff back then. And I would love to, if they could use AI to go through, I don't know, all those ancient scriptures, texts, because so much of that stuff was written in different languages. They believe Jesus spoke Aramaic, not Hebrew. I don't know, but there's old language, Latin and Greek and Akkadian, and there's so many texts, and then trying to figure out what's real. But if they could use AI to go through all of that stuff, sort it all out, they could probably paint a much different picture of what they were actually trying to teach us back then, and get some of that other information, the Book of Enoch, and so much that was taken out of the Bible. They could give us more of a full picture. But it does seem like it was mistranslated and manipulated in a way to better serve the ruling class. So, Cruz speaks as though assassination of Trump by Iran is an afterthought. Yeah, it's just been going on for 10 or 20 years, but why aren't they talking about that? Why won't they show any proof of the WMDs or the assassination attempts if that actually happened? Okay, I'm going to try to lightning round here. Getting around the 90-minute mark. I'm going to try to wrap this up. But here's another interesting tweet. Tucker Carlson interview with Cruz, a major turning point because a GOP senator admits he basically works for Israel and that Israel spies on Americans. And Cruz is just like, hey, that's just what friends do. It's really an admission that Congress is blackmailed. And that is very interesting. And also admitted, yes, they spy on us, so does everybody, and that the only thing that they really do for us is they give us great intel. And then say that all their enemies of Israel all hate us, but that's also according to their own intel. So we provide all this military, all of this financial aid, and all we get is intel from the people in that region. Many of us allegedly hate us. So there we go. Is this beneficial to us? No. Let's keep going. Yeah, I can't. Clint Russell here again saying, I can't believe Ted Cruz claims Iran tried to take out Trump not once but twice. Everyone in D.C. agrees it's true, but nobody knows any details about the plots to do so, the perpetrators, or anybody else. So he's saying it's a bald-faced lie. And of course, they've got polls they're putting out too, propaganda polls, which are interesting. Saying MAGA voters overwhelmingly support U.S. strikes on Iranian military, according to a poll. Luke Brodowski is saying this is BS. Did they poll the Daily Wire? Although, to be fair to the Daily Wire, Matt Walsh has been very reasonable on this Iran-Israel issue. Here's one from Thomas Massey. Most Americans do not support U.S. involvement in Israel's war against Iran. So, why doesn't Congress oppose it? Literally no one campaigned on another war in the Middle East. That's true. But back to the polls. There's another poll here saying only 16% of Americans and 19% of Trump voters want U.S. to join Israel's on Iran. So it's weird to see the disparity. And I'm not seeing that online at all. I'm just seeing the who's who of the usual suspects, influencers that are supporting this war and everything that Trump does no matter what. Also bombshell in that interview is that Ted Cruz revealed U.S. helping Israel carry out military strikes on Iran. The way that he was using we. Tucker called him out on that. And of course, it's been interesting watching the infighting and watching some of these other influencers get attacked relentlessly and ruthlessly, and they deserve it. Especially a guy like Mark Levin or Ben Shapiro. Because right now you've got Mark Levin calling for the Iranian regime to be destroyed. All capital letters, saying it out loud. Iranian terrorist regime must be destroyed. Nuclear weapons, genocidal bloodlust, and killing fields ideology. But completely just ignores the fact that Israel has been pulling off a genocide in Palestine. 55,000 plus people murdered since the horrific attack of 10/7. Anyway, so who's the real genocidal maniac? And you just preemptively attacked Iran, and now you just want to go in and finish the job before they can come to the negotiating table and talk about peace. So, yeah, more David Icke. We're worried. So is it real MAGA to criticize Trump? You just don't want to see him get pulled into this conflict and become the next George W. Bush. We didn't vote for that. So we're just trying to hold our guy accountable. And then finally, why don't I leave off with one final video. Oh yeah, there's a good quote here from Deb. Yeah, find the intel unreliable. Oh, according to our ally, all of their enemies hate us too. Oh, well, it must be true. I don't know. Yeah, I would question anything coming out of that as well. Meanwhile, they're spying on us too. This is not a healthy relationship. Perhaps we should reevaluate and pull our support. Hey, this is their fight, and they want to go for it. Let them. Maybe we can defend them to some extent, but my worry is that there's going to be some base, some ship is going to get attacked, and we're going to get drawn into this. And finally, yes, that's the what we worry about, the foreign policy issue and Ted Cruz. This is one final video, minute and a half, about the foreign policy failures. We'll let Tucker talk about it.
And I see an unending string of foreign policy disasters that have impoverished and hurt our country.
Unending string.
Unending string. They would include Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Syria, and our inability to stop the Houthis, by the way, in Yemen, which exposes us as weak, and I grieve over that. So these are failures. You helped preside over some of them as a member of the Senate.
What failures, foreign policy failures, have I presided over?
Well, we were unable to beat Russia in the war that you supported against Russia. You've been spending the last 3 years telling us that Vladimir Putin is evil and we're going to beat him with other people's children, and 1 million of those kids are now dead. You've never apologized for that. That was a full failure.
By the way, look, the level of number of falsehoods you lay out just in one statement are rather.
You haven't supported the war against Russia?
Are rather stunning. So the war against Russia was caused, which I have explained at great detail, by Joe Biden's weakness.
But you supported the war.
If you want to talk, we can talk Russia and Ukraine. I'm happy to talk about it.
Wow, so he's deflecting and blaming the puppet presidency, and his weakness is why we're in this.
Do you think that's been a success?
No, it's been an absolute disaster.
Okay, but you supported it. Shouldn't you apologize?
No, you should apologize. I'm not going to engage in the demanding of apologizing. So
I'm like, that's my point. Is all these failures and no one ever says I'm sorry.
Matter, or do you just throw out if you want to talk, we can talk.
Okay, I do. I want to know why that seems like a true disaster for the United States.
Yep. Okay, so yeah, great interview, and it was. As people are pointing out, this is MAGA exposing the neocons, and like I said, and as even Tucker said, like Ted Cruz, smart guy, constitutional principled, but his foreign policy philosophy is a disaster. It's been a disaster, and now he's completely exposed. There's no reason to support any of his foreign policy. So anyway, that's very good stuff. So hopefully we'll see more of that, more contentious interviews. Let's get back to the topics, wrap it up with a big red bow. Thanks, Deb. So Israel, has they caused a split of MAGA into two factions? Yes, they have. It's been the consequence of this conflict. MAGA voters overwhelmingly support Iranian airstrikes? No. The New York Post had one poll, and then there's another poll out of Zero Hedge from YouGov. They do not. So I don't think you're going to get. I don't know which MAGA they're polling, but MAGA is mostly principles, I would say, and Trump is our hero, right? But if he's not doing what the voters want, the MAGA people want, then he's leaving the field and he needs to be pulled back in. Although, to be fair, is one consistent issue has always been talking about not letting Iran have a nuclear weapon, which we could agree with, but we don't know if they actually did have one or if they were building one. But now he's being pulled into this because of Bibi. He already went. Okay, we should save screenshots of MAGA influencers, I guess. But I'm not in here to just try to excommunicate people. But if I do find out that they are, they're grifting, they've been secretly taking money and accusing other people of taking money, then yeah, they do need to be exposed. But, I don't know about the purity test here. Disagree with that. So soldiers ordered into Iran should quit dishonorably? No, I would say no. Unless the war kicks off and then they have to do a draft and it's for unjustified reasons. Yeah, then maybe, I don't know, so you wouldn't have to quit dishonorably. You just say, nope, not participating in that. Okay, if you don't support Israel, you love Iran and hate Jews, well, there's certainly many of these fake MAGA accounts who will try to say stuff like that. It's a very dishonest way of framing things. But you even saw Ted Cruz kind of twist that on Tucker. Like he's anti-Semitic for not supporting there. Okay, should we attack Iran if they attempted to kill Trump? Yeah, I think that would get public on your side. But the problem is, it's again with like the WMDs. Oh yeah, they have a nuclear weapon or they're building one. Oh, and they tried to assassinate Trump. But you can't get proof of either one. Now, if they did show us the proof, and if we could get it from like the highest levels of the Iranians, the Ayatollah, and they actually did run assassination, then yeah, that would give you some more support. But I think you need to pull some other countries involved, including some of the ones that are more Iranian type of allies. But if you can get the Saudis, if you can get some Middle Eastern countries along with China, Russia, and to all just stand together and just find a peaceful resolution to have Ayatollah Khamenei step down and put in a new regime, then I think that could pull it off. And then Bibi also to exit the scene. That would be a good faith way to save the day. Okay, last, people should support Israel because the Bible says so. Absolutely not. Biblical Israel has nothing to do with this modern creation. And American foreign policy has been mostly disastrous. Yes, absolutely. Ever since Well, I guess you got Vietnam and Iraq, Afghanistan, any other meddling around, whether it's regime changes of so many other countries in the Middle East or South America. It has not gone well. I think the only ones they've said are that maybe have gone well is, I don't know, Germany or Japan. I mean, out of, I don't know, 100 times. So no, we don't have a good foreign policy. It's been a disaster, and you just saw Ted Cruz get exposed. Okay, well, that's all I've got today. Thank you so much. Thank you, Deb. Appreciate your support there. Love you guys. I hope, please like and subscribe, and we'll do it again next time. Keep to the schedule, Tuesday, Thursday, 4 o'clock until things change, but I'll try to make those announcements, put out more content, step things up into the second half of the year. We shall see. But things are getting very exciting. The news cycle is always interesting. So, thank you very much, everybody. Have a terrific weekend, and we'll look forward to seeing what happens next week. So, take care. I am going to call it a day. I am out. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.